So there are four kinds of disruptions in the business world that I want to talk about, and I talk about in the book. The first one is what I just talked about, which is what I call the external market-facing disruption. That's the Amazon of the world, the Netflix, LinkedIn. Founders, leaders who look at an existing system, ecosystem, industry, process, whatever you want to call it, and say, this could be working a lot better. And usually because the consumer, the end user, is not getting the value that they should be getting, or they're overpaying for the service or the product. Second kind of disruption is the internal facing disruption. It's a sort of disruption where a company, and I use the example of IBM, loses its way, usually pursuing a strategy that, again, hasn't really understood what the end user is looking for, and because of our system, the way it's set up, they immediately feel the effects. Their profitability goes down the tube, market capitalization disappears, and they're in danger of going bankrupt. And that's where IBM was in 1994. And the board of directors of IBM at that moment made probably one of the most disruptive decisions in the history of business. They hired a man named Lou Gerstner, who had no experience running a technology company, had been running consumer goods companies. Nabisco was his last one before he went to IBM, and who, by his own admission, was a technology phobe. He was not comfortable, but he knew enough to be dangerous, and immediately started disrupting the company. Beliefs that they had, traditions that were no longer working for IBM, and a strategy that had to be turned around 180%. But the long-term transformation was amazing. The market capitalization shot through the roof. He made himself a millionaire. He made many of his employees millionaires, and investors very happy. The third kind of disruption is when you've been disrupted and you have to now find a way to disrupt back, what I call defensive disruption. And we're standing actually in the store of a company who had practiced exactly that. They had to defend themselves against Amazon. And they're actually one of the few large booksellers who actually have survived because of the actions they took. The fourth kind of disruption is more in the personal sphere. And it really is the first thing I talk about in the book. It's your personal disruption. It's when you, as a human being, are not happy with how things are going. And often our natural instinct is just to continue and hope things get better. And often it is indeed a third party, a coach or a consultant, maybe an employer, but then also take it to the next level. Not only realize there's a problem, but actually actively disrupt yourself. And it's a very hard thing to do. And I'm sure all of us have been there. Certainly in business, you see it all the time. Mindsets about how it's supposed to be, how you're supposed to do things, and a difficulty recognizing that that no longer works. Unfortunately, our brains are put together in such a way that we have these immense blind spots. And those are the things that we have to address in personal disruption. But the most important aspect of personal disruption is that if you can't disrupt yourself and you can't constantly think about ways you're going to improve and fix what you're doing, you will never be able to own your tomorrow.